Arweinydd Grŵp UKIP, Gareth.
Leader of the UKIP Group, Gareth Bennett.
First Minister, you're probably aware of a recent report from the Future Generations Commissioner entitled Transport Fit for Future Generations. Thank you. On page 16, the report says that evidence consistently demonstrates that capacity increases on highway infrastructure generate more motorway trips, and generally, new capacity simply fills up over time, often leading to further congestion on the entire corridor or network. End of quote. The basic idea of the Future Generations Office, and it's not a new idea, is simply that the more roads that we build, the more cars use them, and we will ultimately end up back in the same situation that we were in the first place, with clogged up, congested roads. I think at some point your government will have to address the issue of how to get vehicles off the road as far as this can reasonably be achieved. For instance, at the moment, lots of people are driving into offices to do jobs that they could probably do at home. So what is the Welsh Government doing to encourage working from home in order to reduce pressure on Welsh road networks? Are you encouraging and incentivising companies and public sector organisations to allow more of their employees to work from home?
Well, yes, that's true, because for many people, it's perfectly possible to work at home, given the technology we have now, rather than having to come into an office in order to work. And I'm sure that companies, and indeed we in the public sector as well, is looking at ways to ensure that people can deliver work at home. I know there are local authorities in Wales already doing this, and I know it's an issue that, as Welsh Government, we've been keen to encourage as well. Nevertheless, people will still have to travel, and the balance always has to be struck between the transport infrastructure that we need and, of course, the environmental considerations that come with that. But, of course, we are investing in the South Wales Metro. It's a huge improvement proposed for South Wales. The same will be true further west, and the same will be true further north. And now, of course, with control of the franchise, we will, in time, be able to deliver the kind of train network that the people of Wales should expect.
Yes, I hear what you say about the South Wales Metro, First Minister, but I believe there are possible doubts over the future funding of it, given your government's commitment to the M4 Relief Road scheme. So there may be some uncertainty over the South Wales Metro. But anyway, I don't want to go down that avenue today. I suppose ultimately the proof of the pudding is in the eating, and we have come to a state of virtual gridlock at rush hour in many areas of Wales. So I would have to say that whatever measures you are taking to encourage working from home, they don't seem to be having an appreciable effect. Now, another pressure on road networks at certain specific times of the day is the school run, whereby parents pick up children and students from schools and colleges. I do sometimes wonder what effect your programme of school closures are having on the lengthening traffic jams. According to the school census results published by Statistics for Wales, there are almost 300 fewer local authority schools than there were 10 years ago. That is an average of nearly 30 schools closing every year in Wales. First Minister, would you agree that Welsh Government policy has actually driven more people into their cars for the school run?
Tenuous link. I mean, if he wants to, he can go up and down the length and breadth of Wales, and he can see the new schools that have been built. Primary schools, comprehensive schools, and they have replaced, yes. Perhaps one school's been built to replace another 3, but the facilities available at the new schools are fantastic. It's always difficult when a community loses a school, of course it is. And these decisions have to be taken very carefully. But he tries to give the impression that somehow the fact that there are 300 fewer schools means that somehow education has suffered as a result. I'd argue the exact opposite. And we can see it in the results we have from our young people. The reality is, if he goes, for example, if he goes to Ceredigion, he will see there many new schools that have been built. They replace very small schools, and they are wonderful facilities. From my perspective, we in Wales will continue to build and refurbish schools, because that's the commitment we make to our children's education.
Yes, I understand that the 21st Century Schools programme creates modernised school buildings, and I'm certainly not denigrating that. However, it does not necessarily create local schools. Indeed, the effect the programme has in some areas may be entirely the opposite. For example, the programme may create a modern school, but it may well be a school whose location forces more people to drive to school rather than walk to school as they did before. What assurance can you give us that any new schools built using the 21st Century Schools programme will be genuinely local and therefore minimise the need for long car journeys by parents?
I'm not sure I follow his argument. Many of the new schools that have been built are literally a few miles away from the schools that they were built to replace. It's not a situation where children suddenly have to travel 10 miles to go to school, where previously there was one on their doorstep. Look, we're proud of the fact that we in Wales have a commitment to building new schools, to refurbishing new schools. What is the point of keeping schools that are too small to be viable, or schools that are in buildings that are very, very difficult, particularly for modern technology? Yes, I've seen situations where people can be very concerned when a school that has been there for many, many, many years closes, but I've not yet come across anybody who has said, when they see a new school, that they'd like to go back to the old schools. What they see is a school that is a community facility, a school that offers all the best in terms of technology, it offers wonderful teaching space in a way that wasn't available to some of the older schools in Wales. I don't know what he's trying to say here, whether we should not have new schools or whether we should carry on with the same old buildings. For me, new schools mean better education for our pupils.